Hi, everybody. So obviously we are in the midst of a global pandemic and things have definitely changed. And that means big changes on the marketing side. So how do you adapt? How do you shift your strategy? How do you make your messaging relevant? And happily, I'm glad to be a part of CleverTap and utilize the amazing functionality that this platform has in a way to reach our users in an authentic way. So let's move to the next slide. So Stardust is a social app for movie and TV fans. Let's go ahead and move to the next and give a little bit more context as to what we do. So our CEO was a huge fan of Game of Thrones when the show was on and was really looking for an opportunity to connect with other fans of the show, to really have those nitty-gritty conversations about fan theories or what just happened in last night's episode, or guess what was going to happen for a particular storyline. And in his search for community, really found that many of the existing social platforms and forums were really generic. It was hard to come together on a specific episode level. It was really hard to keep track of all the shows he was watching and see what others were watching at the same time. And so Stardust was born out of his desire to really connect around the shows and movies that he was a fan of. Next slide. So in the context of COVID, we have definitely seen a massive shift in how people around the world are behaving. App usage across the board has gone up. People are spending much more time at home. They're consuming more content on streaming platforms. They're shifting their entertainment, from going to theaters and live concerts and things like that to consuming entertainment at home. And so we've definitely had an opportunity, being a social and TV movie app, to really cater to our audience and connect them in a time where we've all been feeling a little bit more isolated, spending time during this lockdown. And so how do we still offer that sense of community and bring people together and keep them engaged around the content that they're consuming? Next slide. So from a segmentation standpoint, it seems obvious that a social app that's centered around movies and television has natural segments. We have groups form around specific media here. So you can see a screenshot of several users on the platform who are talking about the movie Ghostbusters. So it's easy to see what other people are saying, to connect with other fans, to really create a community around content. Next slide. And one of the great things about our community is that they're very authentic and engaging and supportive of one another. And because of our ability to help curate these cohorts and segments of users and connect them with one another, it really reinforces our brand value and the experience that our users have on the app. And much of that is due to the strategy that we have implemented with CleverTap. So next slide. So it seems really obvious that there would be segments that sort of form around these big media and franchises. People love Marvel movies or Disney, Star Wars, right? Next slide. We also see this emerge around streaming platforms. So we can tell who our users are that have Netflix subscriptions, those who are watching shows on Hulu or HBO. Next slide. But those are sort of broader segmentations. Something that we also look at, aside from user interest, is how users engage with the platform. What kind of actions are they taking? What kind of content are they consuming? Are they just rating movies? Are they reading articles? Are they leaving video reactions? So all of these user events tie back to media, right? There's an article about Wonder Woman. You can rate Wonder Woman. You can leave a reaction to Wonder Woman. You can post a poll about Wonder Woman. So there are, sort of behavioral segments and also interest segments that we sort of play with back and forth on CleverTap. So next slide. So again, this is another example of in-app behavior around how we're organically using segmentation to pull our users together based on in-app behaviors. This is a screen of adding your favorite titles to your list, and then also users who are part of our cinema club are challenged to watch a daily movie every day. And so we send that out to users via push notification and also email. The next slide. So as far as how we're leveraging CleverTap, analytics is obviously a huge factor. We need to understand how our users are behaving, how often they're engaging in the app, what they're doing, what they're interested in. And to speak to what a couple of the earlier presenters were saying, you know, our ability to leverage CleverTap really depends on the quality of the data that we send to CleverTap. So before we set out to create a new campaign, or we are building a new feature in the app, we think about how are users going to engage with this feature, what's the messaging that we want to be able to send to them, and therefore are able to determine for any particular event that we send to CleverTap, what are the event properties that are going to be useful for us? What are going to be those dynamic values that we want to include to the messaging to make sure that it's relevant on a one-to-one basis? And so we're tracking custom events. Obviously, we're using cohorts and segmentation very heavily based on behavioral aspects, also in real time. So if a user adds a new movie to their list, or they rate a new movie, or somebody comments on something they've rated, we are using journey campaigns to, in real time, send notifications to our users to keep our engagement rates up. As far as a channel, our channels are concerned, we primarily are leveraging push notifications. So we have, you know, probably about 30 different campaign journeys that are running at all times that are related to when users interact with one another. So for instance, Meredith, say I left a reaction to Ghostbusters and you liked it or you commented, I will get a notification that you have interacted with my content, which then brings me back into the app so I can see what you've said and react to you. So there's sort of this, you know, self-fulfilling prophecy of using our users interacting with each other to increase engagement beyond just Stardust as a company reaching out to the customers to bring them back into the app. Next slide. So one of the early campaigns that we set up that we saw really great success with from CleverTap was around our onboarding process. And I'm sure many of you know one of the great things about Android users is that they are by default opted into push notifications, which once we really let that sink in, realized there was an opportunity for us in our onboarding flow to message users on Android who did not complete the onboarding flow within a certain period of time. So they installed the app, they began the process, but they dropped off. And so we set up a journey with a series of 3 push notifications to coax users to come back and finish onboarding. And so month over month results after implementing that campaign, we saw an increase of 44.6% of those Android users completing onboarding, which is astounding and really exciting. We wish that Apple and iOS would do that, but we don't think that they will. But in the meantime, this has been a really exciting thing for us to make sure that, you know, at the very moment when a brand new user expresses interest in your product, to make sure that we are staying top of mind and that they don't forget about us and onboard onto the product. Next slide. So another opportunity that we've had to leverage with CleverTap that we've seen really great results from is our editorial program. So we publish 10 to 15 articles in the app every day regarding entertainment news or updates about movie filming or cinemas, you know, partnering together to prolong their longevity, et cetera. And so what we've been able to do is not only leverage segmentation, but also really whittle it down to specific user interests. So a couple slides back, we talked about users who might be Star Wars fans. But if you are a Star Wars fan, you know that that is not a blanket. It's not a catch-all, right? Some Star Wars fans are really serious about the original trilogy and they don't like the prequels. Some fans really love the latest Skywalker saga. They're excited about that. Some people are watching The Mandalorian, some are not. So within that sort of franchise, there are all sorts of, you know, minute segments that we have of users in the sort of global world of Star Wars. And so we would not send a notification about The Mandalorian to everybody who's expressed interest in Star Wars. We're able to really just send it to the people that we know are interested in that show. And one of the things that I wanted to bring up that was sort of an aha moment for us in utilizing CleverTap was initially when we sent out on, or when we started our editorial program, we thought, okay, well, we'll send these articles to users who have added a particular movie or show to their watch list, right? That seems like the right way to go. And over time, I was looking at, creating a campaign. We looked at how many users the campaign was going to go to. And I thought, well, that number looks a little strange. I feel like there are more users who are interested in this media than I'm getting. And this also ties in with our how we're segmenting on events. So as I said earlier, a user can add a movie to their list, but they can also rate a movie, and they can also react to a movie, and they can create a poll about a movie. They can read an article about a movie. And so all of these indicators pulled together allowed us to broaden our segmentation strategy around entertainment articles and reach more users that the article was still relevant to. And so by broadening and adding those additional events with the criteria for the specific movie or show attached, that allowed us to increase our MAUs by 37.6% month over month. So just looking in CleverTap in the campaign flow and thinking, wait, that's not right. And what happens if I add these additional segmentation criteria? That was sort of the like click into high gear that really allowed us to get this program much more successful. Next slide. I think that was it for me. Thank you very much, CleverTap.